Hey, I'm pretty stoked about this one. Meet Me for Coffee podcast with TNA World Champion, ECW World Champion, WWE Champion, the whole effing show. Mr. Monday Night himself, one of my favorite wrestlers, Rob Van Dam. How's it going, man?
Dude, everything is excellent as always. Where's the coffee?
The coffee? Well, I finished it, dude. I had an espresso. Where's your coffee?
Dude, meet me for coffee. I must have misunderstood. I thought that was
Yeah. Well, I had it. I actually had it in this mason jar right here. I drank it in that. I just like to do things a bit differently around here. So, uh,
I usually only have a couple of cups a day because I used to go crazy with it and just drink it all day, and it really wasn't very effective anyway. I just enjoyed it. So I usually have 2 cups, and I usually have rum chata in it.
beautiful. And we're here to talk about mainly your new CBD line that people up here in Canada may or may not have heard about it. But you've been a very big supporter of the marijuana CBD industry and stuff your whole career. What inspired you to start your own line?
Very easy to put my finger on that answer because, at being a long time cannabis advocate and being in the industry for so long, I've always had the thought of having my own brand. People always, hey, how come you don't have your own weed brand? I would get asked that a lot, and I used to think, like fans call their weed RVD or Rolling Thunder or whatever all the time. You can't control that. So why bother, saying, no, this one's mine. But now it's different. Now that it's getting legalized, you can control, I think, with the packaging some, right? And you can make it stand out. Yeah. And a lot of my friends are doing it. So, but I know you're trying to talk, but anyway, I'm going down this road, and then we used to not be allowed to study the plant. It was illegal forever and ever. So all we knew about it was it has THC, it gets you high. And the last several years, now that it's getting quasi legal and people are able to study it, we're learning it has all these other cannabinoids that a lot of it is stuff that we gave credit to the THC for, and it was really other parts of the plant. A lot of it is a THC, and now we're still only looking at a handful of cannabinoids, elements that are individual to the marijuana plant that are out of so many. Like there's so many to go still. We're talking about THC and CBD. Most people haven't even heard of CBG or CBN. Um, now if you look at a packaging, if you buy marijuana at the dispensary, it'll have a breakdown of all the terpenes and everything in it. But as we're learning, though, that's so the CBDs affect the body a lot like the THC, but without some of the effects that people don't want. Some people don't want to get high. They're able to control their attention span, or they get tested at work, and so they can't have THC in their system. There's a lot of reasons for people to try it. And as I was just telling you before we started recording, it's helping like so many people. I made my stuff specifically as strong as I could from the dosage amount of milligrams in the CBD, but also my pain cream, which is our flagship product. It's the best. It's the best you'll find in the market. And everybody that uses it says so, even when other stuff didn't work. And so all the feedback that I get is just like so straight to the heart that's why I'm doing it now. I mean, that's why it's worth putting all the energy into and looking at the future. What else we can do with the CBGs and everything. But I wanted to do that because I was involved in the industry somewhat, if as an advocate or as a character, if nothing else. But the passion was trying to stop my friends from killing themselves. A lot of my peers, if someone listening doesn't know, if I look left and look to the right, I don't see a lot of my peers around anymore. And half of them OD'd from prescription drugs. The other half got brain damage that led to depression, and then they killed themselves. And so when I started reading the CBGs could regenerate dead brain tissue, and that even years ago when they're talking about THC helping with Alzheimer's, I thought that sounds very close to what concussion damage can lead to. You know, it's encephal what is it called? It's the encephalopathy. I'm trying to think of encephalopathy. I can't remember what the initials.
I'm following you though. I know what you're talking about.
Chromatic. Okay, there we go. CTS. Traumatic, like chronic traumatic encephalopathy. So CTS. They haven't send the word in a while, or the abbreviation. Anyway, it's very much so. Anyway, we get into the brain and the brain chemistry, and if we can find some ways to make that better, we can stop not only the long-term damage we're seeing as a result from concussions, but other kinds of like I said, Alzheimer's, even depression. A lot of it's related. So I'm interested in that. I don't think there's enough talk about it, and so the being in it, talking like I am now, it's spreading awareness, and that's what's going to lead to furthering our education on it.
And you can check out rvdcbd.com. That's a site where our Rob Van Dam will sell you some CBD or anything else on his line, his pain cream as well. Did you find yourself during your career using a lot of marijuana or CBD to nurse some of the pain or take the ease off a bit at all? Or
yes, but I really, can bottom line it and say that at times, even when I didn't know the breakdown of what was going on in my body, or didn't look at it that way, I have used the plant to better myself, to make me feel like I'm at my best. And I knew that. I've done interviews for years talking about how, from an athlete's perspective, getting out in front of the crowd, the anxieties, the unease from traveling and not sleeping right, and there's a million reasons you could. Doesn't matter if you got diarrhea. People paid to see you, and when it's time to go out there and perform, you got to be like at your best. They don't care if you had two connections and didn't get any sleep because the people were loud on your plane. People don't care about it. So, but anyway, it always made me feel like my best by getting rid of, when I say getting rid of, I mean, it kind of, I looked at it more as masking, like, I don't know, let's say like my knee is really hurting, right? If I don't consciously take control of it, maybe subconsciously, that's really taking a lot of my energy. It's hurting, it's pissing me off. I might be in a bad mood and not even know about it, what it's from or anything. Cannabis helps with things like that, like with things that you focus on that you don't need to be focusing on, and it makes you, not everybody, it's not for everybody, but it would make me feel better, make me forget about, wasn't I just talking about being tired and feeling shitty a minute ago? Fuck, I feel great now. And so, I have, since I've been introduced to it way back when I was 21 is the first time I smoked, but shortly after that, it became part of my regimen that I would look forward to. And it is where I feel like I'm at my best. And I now, after studying it for 30 years and studying life, I now see it from a spiritual perspective as well, because the higher vibration that my spirit is, the better energy that I'm exuding, and the better stuff comes back from the universe. And that all has to do with being at my best. And cannabis is a great asset, a great tool for achieving that.
is Rob Van Dam done with wrestling right now, or just waiting until the pandemic is over?
Well, I know that I'm not done, because I have one more match right now on the books. It's for a promotion called Frontline Pro in Wisconsin, and it's in April. The date has been pushed a couple times, so we'll see what happens. But I'm just going with the flow. For the last couple of years, I was talking about, like, I might retire sometime. I might retire. I might be about done. I don't know. I'm spending, but I don't even right now. I'm like, I'm more in touch with the fact that I'm not really comfortable with labels, you know, and so it's like as far as being retired, I don't know. It's a label. There's advantages. There's not. It might be possible. I don't know. You might have to be retired in order to be in the WWE Hall of Fame. I'm not saying that's a fact. I don't know, but if I heard that, it'd be something to consider. But I'm definitely not looking at pursuing wrestling full time anymore. And the other guys that are so excited, you know, to be working their way up and stuff. They they have a different kind of energy than me. I just appreciate, you know, all the love that I get from everybody, from the business, from the fans, everything. It hasn't been a thankless job, you know, and that carries everywhere, you know, when I'm in the ring or just out in public, you know, because I've been on TV for so long.
Who's tougher, Sabu or Terry Funk?
hmm Sabu. Sabu. Terry Funk is very tough though. No doubt about it. They both aren't going to let pain stop them from going forward.
Is there any bet? Is there a better tag team than Rob Van Dam and Sabu at all? I mean that just it's etched in my mind thinking about ECW, and I used to be able to watch that weekly, and it really ended up following you and your way into the WWE, and you recently were on the TNA, and you know it's pretty crazy to think that someone is able to do the high risk maneuvers that you are able to. How'd you choose to be that type of wrestler? I mean, there's people who are kind of ground and pound, and there's people who are more aerial and acrobatics. Well, what's your stance on it, and how did you decide to be that persona?
It's just, you know, like what you are drawn to. You know what I mean? Like how come you like drawing in school and the kid next to you liked shooting guns and wanted to be in the army? You know, it's just when I was a fan, I appreciated the wrestlers that thought outside the box, because in the mid to late 80s, it was a lot of 300-pound guys, you know, not a super athletic style like RVD has changed it to now, but it was a lot of big guys that wouldn't necessarily even take bumps in the matches. And so I was really drawn to guys like Leaping Lanny Poffo and Brady Boone. And he was Firecat with a mask too. And these weren't big superstars that were selling out houses. They, in fact, I'm sure that not very many people have told Lanny Poffo that he was their favorite wrestler. Um, I am very different. I think outside the box. That's probably why I was drawn towards that, and that's why I'm one of a kind. Why all my moves are different. But I was excited by that, and all it took back then to stand out was like maybe some flying head scissors, you know. So before my first match, I was coming up with moves that I hadn't seen done before, and that was what turned me on.
What turned you on to the Van Terminator? How did that come about?
It was so ECW was a progressive show, and every time I would come to the tapings in Philadelphia, I was blown away that Paul Heyman was able to outdo his last show. Every time I thought, there's no way. Like they just blew their nut. There's no way when they come back, they're gonna get to top that. And then they would turn the lights out, and like someone that wasn't expected at all to be there would be there, and crowd would go nuts. And I was just always amazed. And so during that time, I was always about outdoing myself. You know, threw a chair, did a jumping, spinning back kick, and kicked it into an opponent's face. And people loved that move, the Van Damme. So pretty soon we're doing hot potato. I throw it to Fonzie, my manager. He'd grab it and he'd throw it to the other guy, and then I'd kick him. And pretty soon I'd crotch the guy on the top rope halfway down, like in the middle. Fonzie would hold a chair over the dude's face, and I would go up in the corner to the top rope and jump as far, and I'd push him back further and further, seeing how far I could get to get that air and deliver a flying sidekick to them. Bam! And it wasn't long before I was like, dude, I'm clearing the whole ring. Might as well just drop him right down there in the corner and clear the whole ring. So that became the Van Terminator. It's amazing to think that anybody after wrestling's been around for so long could think of moves that haven't been done before. It seems to me, and a lot of them when I see now, I understand. Like now, the rules have changed. Now, guys are doing moves that wouldn't even fit, back in the day because everything's just different about it.
Was there ever a time where you pulled off a finishing move and hurt yourself?
Yeah, plenty of times. Too many times to even remember. I've wrestled, dude. I've wrestled like with broken ribs and compressed back, broken wrists, torn shoulders, for my whole career. You know what I mean? So there'd be times when I was really hurt at the moment, standing on the top rope, like, oh my God, my rib is hurts so bad. But here I go, doing it for everything for the show. It's all for the fans, and boom, and or even just laying there and having somebody, splash me when you got a rib that's cracked or out of place or whatever. But yeah, too many times, that's you feel everything that hits. People think that you don't feel it at all, or that it looks fun, but it looks fun, but you're not one of these crazy guys that's jumping off the roof through a flaming table. Those guys are nuts. I don't recommend the kids do that, but those are the ones that want to see exactly what it does feel like.
Yeah, especially if you're getting 5-star frog splash off a ladder, or even like a swanton bomb from Jeff Hardy. Who are some of the most memorable individually you've worked with over the last couple of years? Maybe top 5. We can range it for that instead of just saying the number one.
Okay, yeah, I think that's pretty easy. But I was just thinking, last time I did a Van Terminator, I think it was the last time, was on Brian Cage, and I jump, way up there. I go back and then boom, I kick him. But you don't have anything left to break your fall now because you've extended your legs, and in order to do that, your upper body kind of has to also, go out with it. And I hit the mat and and I gave myself a concussion. And when I was watching that video, I was like, do I do that every time? Like the back of my head smacks the mat so hard when I do a Van Terminator, and I never noticed before if I knock myself silly every time or not till that last one. And it's like I always just consider that part of the job before we really started studying the brain. But top 5 easy. Sabu.
Wait, let's stop that. I want to ask you another question before we get to that.
Cool.
Do you guys rehearse these high risk maneuvers or know about it that's going to happen? Especially if we're doing a Van Terminator, or even just say, hey, I'm going to finish this match. I'm going to 5-star frog splash you. And then or you're going to go grab a chair, or somebody's going to run in the chair and I'm going to kick them in the face. Like how does it all come together? How much of it is choreographed?
So it's, when I said that, like a lot of the guys nowadays do moves that wouldn't even fit before, a lot of it has to do with this. You know what I mean? When I got to WWE in 2001 and they were talking about they wanted to get in the ring and go over a couple of things, I was thinking, oh my God, Sheik would kill me because I'm old school. That ain't cool. There's people in the building that are going to work security tonight that are just watching right now. I wouldn't even tell the camera guys, and then I found out, well, the camera guys want to know, they don't want to miss a shot if you're diving to the crowd. The way that I got trained was way different. So for me, if you talk to people that I've wrestled, ask them how easy it is to find me before the match, because I'm gone. I've been that way for a long time. I'm usually out in the car blazing up, or I'm not even there. I'm at the gym. I used to routinely for WWE, I'd show up at 1:00 so everyone would see that I'm there. I'd go to the catering and eat, and then I would leave by 2, and I'd be gone. I'd go to the gym, I'd tan, I'd smoke, hit a comic book store sometimes back then. And by the time I come back, I would bypass all that bullshit. And sometimes they'd be like, by the time I get back, they'd be like, hey, so-and-so is looking for you. And they're like, hey, we pretty much know everything we're going to do. We just had this one moment. Like, if we tag you at the end, can you jump off and do a kick? And I'd be like, sure. I got to be like that. Like, it was just easier doing that because back in the day everybody wants to be RVD now. And and that's how the style has become. But I don't know if people realize. Sometimes people notice there's a difference. Like fans will say, "You're still the OG. Nobody does it like you." If that is true, my stuff, I had to fit it in there. You know what I mean? I was wrestling these really big guys, like in All Japan. Stan Hansen, Doug Furness, Del Wilkes, the Patriot, and their guys, they were all big. Kabashi and Taue Kawada. So, uh, and they were really stiff in Japan. That's where I learned a lot. They would beat the shit out of me until I learned to pick it up and give it back to them. And that's what they wanted. It was out of respect. They're not gonna, make something look good if it doesn't look good because it didn't look good and there's no reason to. So they would the contact was, very stiff over there. And I learned to really enjoy that part of it. But if I'm gonna drop a leg on you, dude, you don't need to know if I'm gonna jump up and do a 360 before I land my leg on you. Why do I gotta tell you that? You know what I mean? Fucking slam your ass and go do it. Slam your ass, jump up and do a moonsault. So now when I see moves, it's like a lot of times it's more like they're dancing and working together than back then. I didn't have the dancing partners back then, but so it's really circumstantial. I've always defended my own career. What else can I do? I never wrestled with a script. Everyone thinks it's scripted. They call it scripted. I've never fucking seen a script. I'd probably throw up if I saw one.
And yeah, I mean, obviously, a lot of the people have this misconception that a lot of the wrestling out there is scripted. But how much freedom do you have to go out and talk in the mic for a promo?
Well, you gotta understand that also it depends on what stage you're on. You know what I mean? Like the WWE, you would have the least amount of control. I mean, they have the biggest show, the whole world is watching it. Every second is money on live TV. So they have a lot of people that are controlling everything, trying to make sure that you don't say something that's gonna piss the sponsors off or something. And so it's limited, but then the more comfortable that you are and the more leverage that you have, then the more that you have. I think Steve Austin probably could have went out there with a mic and not even had to tell anybody like what he had in mind. Probably. I don't know that for sure, but I kind of assume it, and as far as like the wrestling, I wrestled the Undertaker a lot of times, and all we said before the match was "see you in the ring."
How was it wrestling the Undertaker? I mean, let's talk about the top 5 people you've ever wrestled.
Well, by my list, when you say top 5, I'm going to go with the ones that I enjoyed working with wrestling the most because,
okay.
Yeah, and that's going to be the guys that are more like-minded because if you look at every match as a bit of a compromise, you're telling a story in the end, and if you both have the same idea, you both like the same stories. It's going to help. You know what I mean? That's why, like, if I'm wrestling Jeff Hardy or something, boom, everybody knows what kind of match we're going to have, and I'm looking forward to it. Rey Mysterio, same thing. Sabu, same thing. Um, and then sometimes, it was real. I liked wrestling with Booker T because he was like, he was my bro at the time. We were like best friends, so we would travel together, and it was really cool to be able to show up at the building. Actually, we were tag team champs, so we would go out there, have our match, to leave together and actually like kind of be like living the gimmick a little bit. That was fun in a different way. I definitely got my biggest victory from John Cena, and that was not only because it was the world championship and the top spot in the industry, but also because everything that fight was about. I stuck to my guns through my whole career about not changing, even when everybody tried to change me my whole way up. And it was because of that we brought ECW back. It was because of that we made it a third brand, and it was because of that, only because of that, because I changed the entire playing field. It was only because of that I was in that top spot. Otherwise, I'm quite sure, in my opinion, that I wouldn't have ever, been world champion. But that fight was all about 100%. everything that I stood for in the business against everything that he stood for. That's the way the crowd was voicing it, and that was definitely a one of a kind experience.
So there's two ECW one night stands, and like the crowd was so into it at both shows. Like it was unreal. It felt good to have everything kind of back to where I think you belong in that element, the hardcore element, the ECW arena. Is there someone out there that you'd like to wrestle before you want to call it quits?
I don't. I whoever. I really. I don't think like that. I don't have like fantasy match thoughts. It's a question that I get asked a lot. Always have. I've never really been able to answer that. It's like sometimes if hey, sometimes I might want an easy match. Give me someone that's real easy, or sometimes I may like really feel like busting my ass. I might want to work a long time, and those are all going to be factors if I had to. But I learned a long time ago that to be the best, it's about consistency, trying to have the best match on the show, regardless of who you're in the ring with. Because, like I said, it's always a compromise unless you're wrestling a clone of yourself, which never happens unless you got a twin. But so for me, it's always been about that challenge. And of course, some guys are more fun, other guys are dicks. Some guys you're like, oh my god, I got to work with him. But I really, have always said throughout my whole career, like, put me in there with whoever the main event guy is that's going to pay me the most.
And you know what? You've had such an illustrious career. You fought Sting, you fought The Undertaker, Brock Lesnar. You've teamed up with Kane. You even fought Kane. It's a lot. The Sandman. There's been some crazy, crazy matches, and I really hope that we get to see you once again, maybe on AEW. I'm not trying to push it on you, but that'd be absolutely amazing to see you in the ring there. Maybe fight John Moxley or Ray Phoenix or Chris Jericho or something like that again. But for now, we'll talk about the RVD CBD that you should go out to the website, type it all up in your browser, visit it, and grab some awesome products courtesy of Rob Van Dam himself. Thanks a lot, man, for being on the show. I really appreciate it. Anything you want to say to your fans?
Well, I want to ask you first. Do you watch Impact Wrestling?
I have in the past, yes.
Right, but you don't watch it, right? Because one thing I noticed is that like a lot of people that say, man, I want to see you in the ring again. Even if I was in the ring like last night, they wouldn't know,
Yeah, yeah.
while I was wrestling for Impact, a lot of people would always ask me, are you retired? People out on the street or whatever. And then it's my job while they're paying me to try to plug them, you know what I mean? And be like, yeah, Friday nights on, or whatever, Wednesday. I don't, but yeah, that's the fact. A lot of people would just watch WWE, and I even had that happen when I was with WWE. Not often, but once somebody was like, "Dude, man, I used to watch your wrestling. When am I going to see you again?" I'm like, "Dude, I was just on Tuesday. Did you watch Tuesday?" "Oh no, I could watch when I was a little kid." So I think that's more of a it's more of a thing that hopefully will stay in your minds and keep me valuable as the superhero that I am up there in everybody's brains. And yeah, I could show up anywhere. That's one thing about the job. It keeps me in top condition. I gotta always be ready to go in order to do that. But dude, appreciate it. RVD CBD is helping so many people. I can't ship it to Canada though. We're working with some people in Canada. It works different up there, I think, as far as like being locally produced as opposed to shipping it in. But I get asked a lot. It'll hit up RVD CBD on Instagram, and say, "Do you ship to Canada?" Same problem with the UK we're having right now, but we'll get it figured out. Somehow Amazon is doing it, and we're working on it. We're working on everything. We're working on growing, always adding new product, and always trying to reach more people. So appreciate it. Follow me everywhere at The Real RVD.